Hey there, in this video today, we're going to be talking about Diablo Immortal Endgame. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about all of the endgame activities of Immortal, all of the fun stuff, everything that you're going to try to get to as soon as you get this awesome game. Today in this video, we're going to be talking about all of that, so let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain Nemo. Welcome to another Diablo Immortal video. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most exciting stuff, the endgame activities of Immortal. This is where everyone is going to want to be. This is where all of the coolest stuff is, the best gear, the most fun things. This is where as soon as you get the game, you're going to want to be there, get there, because you'll be able to play with your friends. A lot of exciting stuff happens in the endgame of Diablo Immortal, right? Of Diablo in general. And today, I'm going to make sure that I prepare you for it. We're going to talk about all of the activities that you're going to be able to do. We're going to make sure that you understand how it all works. In fact, I'm actually showing you me playing Diablo 3 and doing these activities right here in this video. That's what I'm going to do. Remember, this video is going to be chaptered, so you can skip around anytime you like via those chapters below. Remember, smash the like button, hit the subscribe, stay tuned for a lot of Diablo Immortal content coming your way. As soon as Immortal comes out, we're going to do guides. So I've been playing Diablo for a long time, and trust me, I'm going to be coming out with all kinds of information. You want to make sure you stay tuned. I also co-host a Diablo Immortal podcast, which is a bi-weekly show with my friend Echo Gaming. I will link the first episode for you up top. We'll make sure you stay tuned for that. His channel is going to be every other Sunday, and we do everything about Diablo Immortal. You want to come on down and join us there. So let's get started with the first thing. What's the first thing we're going to talk about? Now, endgame activities is where you're going to want to be. You're going to, as soon as you start playing the game, you're going to first beat the story mode or the campaign. That's where you're going to grind your character to the max level. Afterwards is where the game actually begins. Diablo in general begins at the end game, where all the fun stuff is, all the cool activities, everything that you're going to want to do with your friends is going to be at the end game, of course, of Diablo Immortal. So once you grind and beat the story mode, you get to, in Diablo 3, it's called the adventure mode, right? There's a lot of different stuff that you can do in there. For example, you can do rifts and greater rifts. It's a cool activity that you can do by yourself or with your friends. You can set the difficulty level, and there are many different difficulty levels. Jump in, and basically what is that? That's like a little mini boss fight. You jump in, there's a whole bunch of different enemies, and you just keep clearing them. And when you clear really strong ones, they drop a token. You drop a token, you pick it up, there's a bar. When you fill out the bar all the way to the end, by killing a whole bunch of elites, a lot of times the Diablo Immortal people refer to, or Diablo people refer to them as elites. Those are the strong enemies. When they drop those tokens, you beat them, you pick them up, you fill the bar. At the end of the bar, once you fill it, a guardian comes out. That's like a big boss, right? Once you kill him, he drops a whole bunch of loot for you. A bunch of stuff that you're going to want to pick up. And the higher you go, the better stuff he drops. So it's kind of exciting to be able to push yourself to higher and higher rifts to try to get stronger and stronger. But in general, a rift will also drop something called a token. This token you can use to open up a greater rift. That's how it kind of works. You can do as many rifts as you want, pick up as many tokens and gear as you want, and then move on to greater rift. Greater rift is just basically a much harder rift with much better gear. And you can set those levels higher and higher and higher and try to beat the highest, greatest rift you can. This is where leaderboards come in. This is where you can get in for try to get the coolest and the best gear. People are going to be pushing their builds and all that to try to get the best and clearest and fastest greater rift you can get. That's kind of where the leaderboards are when it comes to greater rifts. All right. You say, Nemo, calm down there. You go crazy. That's what it comes to. Rifts and greater rifts are two cool activities that you can do. What else can you do in this game? There's a lot of other stuff you can do. That's not the only thing that you need to collect loot. There are many different things. Like, for example, there are bounties in the game, right? And now there's bounties in Diablo 3. That's where you go, you pick up a bounty, and you got to go find someone and take them out. And usually that's, again, a strong boss somewhere in the world. This is going to be one of those probably MMO aspects where everybody's going to be able to jump in and go and do a bunch of different bounties. The bounties are required for seasonal stuff too. So when you first jump into the season in Diablo 3, if you want to get those cool gear sets and etc., you got to do a bunch of stuff. Some of them are bounties. You have to complete bounties, basically go out there and take some of them out. Take some demons, slay them, take them out, and pick up gear and etc. And once you beat the bounties, you get a chest. And a chest usually has a whole bunch of awesome stuff in it. That's a bounty. There's also other events. Looks like we're going to have a bunch of events that are going to be like open events, open world events. Like there was a I was watching a video where there was like a carriage and a bunch of other stuff where you could take out specific bosses. These are like regular, like again, a lot of that stuff happens in Destiny. There's a lot of local events that you could just jump into and play with a bunch of players who were around the area at the time. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of that stuff as well. That's really cool. So we're going to see some loot, some boss drops, a bunch of other stuff in those random events, as well as bounties and the events that you'll have to do when you go through some of those endgame activities. That's really cool. I like that. All right, so there's events. We have greater rifts and rifts. We have open world events. All right, that's pretty cool. You can do all that. There's bounties, right? Okay. What else can you do in this game? Is that it? No, that's not it. There's also something called the dungeon, and I think there's going to be a lot of that. In fact, they again alluded to this. They spoke about this in one of the pamphlets they give out at the BlizzCon, where they mentioned having a dungeon, multiplayer dungeons. Now, what's a dungeon and a multiplayer dungeon? That's a really cool stuff. Now, if you ever played World of Warcraft or you played Destiny, a dungeon is basically like, we talked about a greater rift, right? A greater rift is where you beat a bunch of stuff and you fill out the bar, and then when the big boss comes out, you snap and beat him and get all the gear for it. Well, in a dungeon, it's kind of like that, except there is a key objective. It isn't just about filling up a bar or about doing something like that. There's usually puzzles involved. It's a lot more complicated than just a rift and a greater rift. There's usually something that you have to do, and that usually requires a set of people. So you're most likely going to have to get in with your friends or with a group of people, and with specific builds and specific characters to be able to take certain dungeons. They're saying there should be like 7 from what I hear, again, in this pamphlet. Again, this was confirmed, but not really confirmed, so we're not going to know 100%. But there's supposedly 7 dungeons coming. 7 dungeons with 7 different mechanics, 7 different puzzles, 7 different ways to try to beat them. This is going to be very difficult, not easy. These are massive bosses that you're not going to be able to take on by yourself. A greater rift, you can do by yourself. You can get a really nice build, get whatever difficulty you want, and get in there and take them out, and do greater rifts by yourself. People do this all the time. It is one of those activities. The dungeon, that is not something that you're going to be able to do by yourself. You're just going to get smoked. It's not going to happen. It really requires multiple players, from 4 to 6 looks like. There's going to be matchmaking and all of that. So you're going to be able to play with people online or with your friends. And again, that really adds a whole other aspect to stuff, because once new dungeons come out, there's no way of knowing how to beat them. They're puzzles. And these puzzles are actually quite difficult. I've spent hours, days sometimes playing in Destiny and World of Warcraft trying to figure out like what is going on. And then you get to YouTube, because there's somebody that's going to come out with this first and going to come out with a guide and put it out, because these things are not easy. They're actually quite difficult. And that's the awesome part about them. So that's dungeons. So we got rifts, we got greater rifts, we got dungeons, we have bounties, we have open world events that you're going to be able to see as you're running around there. What else is there going to be? Well, there's also going to be guilds, right? Guilds are really cool. And of course, within the guilds, there's going to be a bunch of different intricacies there. You're going to be able to play and do guild activities together. You're going to be able to grind together as a group. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other stuff. I'm pretty excited about the guild stuff. You're going to be able to do that. That's excellent. So it's guild. What else is there in the game? There's one more thing that they talked about, and one more thing that is in Diablo 3 that is pretty exciting. Now, the last thing is actually pretty exciting. They said that they're going to be upgrading the Paragon System in Diablo Immortal. What's a Paragon System? In Diablo 3, there's something called the Paragon System. Now, once you beat the story mode and you get to the highest level that you can with your character, and you get all the best gear, well, there's another way of being able to increase your stats. There's 4 different stats. It's core, utility, defense, and offense. Those 4 categories have a bunch of different stats within them. Attack speed, critical chance, a bunch of stuff like that. And as you progress and beat your, get your hero to max, you will continually progress the Paragon System. It's just gonna keep going and going and going. So you never really end. And you can continually increase the stats of your character slowly, one by one. As you beat the Paragon, you get to a higher Paragon, you get 1 or 2 more points. You can allocate them to specific things the way you like your character to be, and continually build your character nonstop all the way forever. That's a really cool thing about the Paragon System. That's what's going on in D3 right now. And we are going to get an update for it in Diablo Immortal. And I'm really excited to see what else we're going to be able to do with this, because all in all, it's a really awesome system and it keeps a lot of players playing the game. I love having my Paragon levels higher and higher. There's some, crazy people out there who've been playing Diablo 3 forever. And they have really high Paragon, players. But that's what Paragon System is. And that's what you're going to be able to do in Immortal as well. That's really exciting. So we just talked about events, bounties, open world stuff, multiplayer dungeons, rifts and greater rifts. We talked about the Paragon System. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's coming to Diablo Immortal, and there's just a little bit of what's going to be at the end game of this awesome and amazing game that I cannot wait to play with you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to sound off below and let me know what you think about all of that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.